Hello guys, LifeHackster here. Today we will talk about Reolink Cameras. If you browse around their website, you will be bombarded by a lot of different camera models. You will get that analysis paralysis or choice paralysis. So in this video, I'll try to minimize that and tell you which Reolink security cameras to look for, and some of them I'm actually using right now in my home. Now, the cameras that have the most features and the more expensive doesn't really mean the best choice. We'll focus on the basics. Also, this is a sponsored video by Reolink, so thank you. Reolink is currently celebrating their 16th year anniversary, which currently they have sales from June 2nd to 22nd, and I will link down below their sales page. Before we dive in, I'm going to rank 3 different types of security cameras from the most reliable and less likely to have any issues to the least reliable. And this doesn't only apply to Reolinks, but to all security cameras from all different brands. And most of you already knows this. The most reliable setup is the wired PoE, Power over Ethernet, IP, NVR setup. That is why you will see this type of setup in businesses like stores and banks. You can also easily stream the live view on these cameras to a monitor, which a lot of you want. No need to ask third-party apps and wait for it to stream the view. Also, there is no wireless or Wi-Fi signals that can be jammed or have interference issues. The next reliable setup will be plug-in Wi-Fi cameras. They are needing to be plugged in for power, but use Wi-Fi for you to access and view the camera recordings. And the least reliable will be battery-powered and or solar-charged cameras. They are more popular though just because they are easy to set up and install. But on how they detect motion, which they use a separate PIR sensor, which detects heat movement, has limitations as to its detection range and can be late or even miss the motion event when motion is going towards it. Battery cameras also generally only record motion events, and they're not able to record or sustain 24/7 continuous recording. With that out of the way, let's get into my recommendations. And let's start at the front door. And it's a no-brainer, and that's going to be a video doorbell. And if you have existing doorbell wiring, then definitely go with a wired setup like Reolink's Wi-Fi video doorbell. Reolink also has a PoE model, but more than likely, you will not have an Ethernet cable in your existing doorbell wiring. Going inside the house, we have indoor cameras, and this is the only category that Reolink have a few models to choose from. I did check and test out their E1 zoom just recently because it now has an 8 megapixel sensor 4K version, which I recommend unless they will release a 4K version of their E1 Pro, because there's really no need for a zoom feature for indoor cameras unless you live in a big old mansion. And I like this form factor compared to their FE 360 degree one because that one is limited to a ceiling install. But these E1 indoor cameras can actually be placed near your window to monitor the outside of your home. And this is a cost-effective, no screw, no holes option that you can do. For outdoors, and I already have said earlier that the best and the most reliable setup will be a wired PoE NVR setup if you're able to route the wiring in. And for PoE models and even for Wi-Fi models, which we'll talk about later on, we're just going to narrow it down to 2 types of Reolink cameras that you want to check out. The single lens and the dual lens static cameras. You really don't need the pan and tilt tracking cams. I know a lot of you love the track mix. But anything that the tracking cams can do, the dual lens can also do, but better. I did make a comparison video a while back about tracking cams versus dual lens cameras, and I will link it down below. There's one thing that tracking cameras like the Reolink Track Mix and the 823S1 can do that might be what you're looking for. And that is to let itself known that you are being recorded and tracked. So it can be a deterrent in certain situations. I'm more into just being discreet when setting up security cameras. The less conspicuous, the better. One of my favorite dual lens PoE cams, which probably most of you will be surprised, is the Duo 2V. I did review this together with the 16 megapixel version, the 3V, but I like this 2V better. It is a small form factor compared to the dual cameras of Reolink and is vandal proof. And one thing to note on the video that I made, I mentioned there about cleaning up the dome lens, which I assumed that I'll be doing it frequently. But because of this dome though, it will need frequent cleaning so as to minimize glare, especially at night. Well, I was wrong. And with under the eave setup like what I have here, I only cleaned the lens one time since that video, which is about 5 months ago. And I actually cleaned it not because it is dirty, but I was making a short video on spring cleaning your cameras. Video quality on this camera hasn't changed, even without cleaning its vandal-proof glass dome. Anyways, I turned off the spotlights on these and I just use infrared night vision. Or sometimes I just turn it off and use the infrareds of my other cameras. And it is working fine, and I am able to see end to end of my backyard and my monitor day or night. Not a lot of security camera companies makes a wide-angle dual lens camera, but I think this is a more reliable setup than any tracking cameras. Like if there are multiple people, tracking cams will only track the first person that it detected and not the other ones. And with tracking cams, you can only really monitor a part of your property wherever you set its home position. While with the dual cams, you can monitor your whole backyard with just one camera setup. And the other PoE camera that I like, and most of you know, is the CX410. This is Reolink's first low-light camera in their Color X series. And this has better video quality at night than the other Color X models that Reolink released after this. I know it is in 2K, but it also records in 30 FPS, so it has a smoother footage than any other Reolink camera. Now, if you like black and white infrared night vision or spotlight color recording, Reolink has a lot of other models to choose from. Any of them will do, and I will recommend them more than their tracking cameras. Now, how about Wi-Fi cams? First off, I only recommend this if there's no easy way to route an Ethernet cable. Like a good example would be if you have a 2-story house, and there should be a power outlet nearby. If you're able to run a 12-volt wiring in your attic or through the walls, then go with PoE. So some of these Reolink PoE models will also have a Wi-Fi version of it. Like for the CX410, there is the CX410W, which is basically like the CX410 as to video quality. It does have a lower frame rate though because it is Wi-Fi based. As to dual lens, they don't have a Wi-Fi version of the 2 or 3V, so your options will be the Duo series, which you could go with the Duo 2 or 3. And your last option, if you really can't wire the area you want to monitor, either with Ethernet or there's no power outlet nearby, then battery power would be the only option. I did make a video on the Argus series of Reolink cameras, which is their battery cams, and I will link it down below. But out of all these cameras, the model that I can recommend at this time anyways is the Altas PT Ultra, because this is the only model that is close to a wired or plug-in setup. You can set it up to record continuously or have a pre-recording, which is what I do. And you will get the whole motion event instead of a regular battery cam, which will sometimes record too late. And the next one that I will recommend is the Argus 4 or the Argus 4 Pro, and this is because of its dual lens. It also has a wider motion sensor angle, so it performs better in detection when compared to Reolink's other battery cameras. Alright, just to summarize, for video doorbells, go with wired. Indoor cams, E1 Zoom or E1 Pro. Outdoor cams for PoE, Duo 2V or 3V, or the CX410, or any of Reolink's single lens static cameras. For Wi-Fi, Duo 2 or 3, then followed by the CX410W, or any of Reolink's static Wi-Fi cameras. And for battery power, Altas PT Ultra and the Argus 4 or 4 Pro. Now, you can always choose any of Reolink's pan and tilt tracking cameras, but remember that they are moving parts, so wear and tear also comes into play together with its reliability. Lastly, things to note about Reolink and their ecosystem, especially if you are new and wanting to try them out. Their app has a learning curve to it. And that is because there are a lot of settings that you can change. But whenever you get the hang of it, the camera settings of each camera model are more or less the same, so there is congruency there. Reolink cameras have local recording, either on the microSD card or you can set it to record to Reolink's NVRs or home hubs, so no monthly subscription needed. They do have a cloud subscription option, but it's only available to a small number of their cameras. And same thing with rich notifications. You know, the snapshots that you get in your phone. And this is mostly because those snapshots to appear on the notification needs to be uploaded to a server, which some of you don't want. And there's only a few, like their doorbells, that will have this option. Anyways, hoping this video can help you decide on which Reolink camera or cameras to buy. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching.